Welcome to another episode of Patio Pondering the podcast. I have number 2 on my bucket list that's getting interviewed today, and it's number 2. I'll call it co number ones. It was you and Mike Pearson. And
all right.
Now I feel like a political reporter. I've got Farm Journal on one side, and I had the other one with Mike Pearson. So today's guest is Chip Flory, a longtime Twitter friend from Oxford Junction, Iowa, the host of AgriTalk, many hats at Farm Journal. We worked together 1 year at the Pro Farmer Crop Tour. So welcome to the Terra level executive suite here in the basement of Patio Pondering.
Yeah, welcome to you back. I'm here in the bunker.
In the bunker.
Yep, it's a whole lot better down here than it is upstairs on this hot July afternoon. So
this hot July afternoon.
Good to be here, Jim. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. Well, with all this corn sweat going on, as the meteorologists are telling us, the basement's a good place to be.
That's right. That's right. It certainly is. Got the fan blowing. Everything's good.
Everything's good. Well, Chip, a lot of people already know who you are, what you do, and kind of where you came from. We know you grew up in Oxford Junction. You spent time on the floor at the old Chicago Board of Trade, Iowa State. Can you just give us a real quick progression from Oxford Junction to being the host of AgriTalk AM and PM?
Well, it's only taken almost 40 years to get here. So I don't know if I can do that quick or not, but I'll give it a shot here. Coming out of, well, let's see. I should go all the way back to this. My mom was a rural correspondent for half a dozen newspapers in Eastern Iowa. So she was writing up the weekly news, and she would stuff it in an envelope, send it off to the printers, and the editors would take a look at it and put up the Oxford Junction page in the Anamosa Eureka Journal, the Maquoketa Sentinel, Monticello Express, stuff like that. So that's where my communications came from. She was a good journalist. She did it for 60 years. She was a journalist, and something that kind of wore off on me for sure. And so I'm proud of that she did that, and I'm proud that I'm kind of continuing on that legacy that came from Marlene. Then on the farm side of things, of course, I grew up on a farm. My dad and my brother were farmers, got caught up in the go-go late 70s and ended up with a farm sale in 1980. And I was 15 years old, and I was still thinking that there was going to be an opportunity for me to come back and farm. But Dad changed my mind and my attitude on that and said, you probably need to find a different thing to do.
Yeah.
But Dad was still farming as I was going through high school. And one day in 1981, he heard something on the radio. It was the Pro Farmer Minute, and it was done by Ron Michelson, who is the dad of Davis Michelson, my news anchor on AgriTalk. And he was doing the Pro Farmer Minute, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had a big enough impact on my dad that he stopped the truck, turned around, went home, and went in the house for about a half an hour, came back out and said, I think that was probably a good move. It had an immediate impact on him. And I thought to myself, you know what? That was pretty cool. I got to explore and figure out what that was. So I started reading Pro Farmer. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had kind of decided that I wanted to be editor at Pro Farmer someday.
Wow.
So I called up to Pro Farmer and had a conversation with Bob Kaufman, who was one of the editors at Pro Farmer. And I said, Bob, if I would like to have your job someday, what kind of training do I need? And he was very gracious in explaining why it's journalism, why it was economics, why there was some sociology, why there was a path of study that could definitely help get me
Hmm.
into the role. So I went to Iowa State. I got into broadcast. I got into socioeconomics, and I kind of had to work with my advisors to build the right path
Okay.
and get into exactly the right things. But I go through all of that. I was the farm director at WOI Public
Mhm.
Radio there. That it was a station right on the campus at
Yeah.
Iowa State.
Everybody in Iowa listen to WOI.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Dallas McGinnis
Hmm.
was on there doing the markets. Elwyn Taylor doing
Oh
the
yeah.
weather. I got to do the noon show every day for 2 years.
Wow.
It was a lot of fun and a great learning experience. And plus, I got to spend time with Bob Wisner and Gene Futrell, and I mean, it was an absolute wonderful experience at Iowa State. Uh, there were some classes that I enjoyed more than others. I'll admit that, but uh, and the one class that I really struggled with was the Ag Econ 475 or something like that, and it was futures and options trading.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And
But yeah, surprise, surprise. But it was finals week of my last semester at Iowa State, and the phone rang in the apartment, and it was Bob Kaufman. He was just calling to check up on me and see where things were going. And he said, "Listen, Chip, we don't have anything for you right now at Pro Farmer, but I just want to let you know that we're paying attention and please stay in contact with us."
hmm.
And I said, "Absolutely, I will." The next day, Jeff Wilson called.
Okay.
Jeff was the bureau chief for Futures World News in Chicago, which was a division of Oster Communications, who also owned Pro Farmer. And they needed a reporter on the floor of the Board of Trade for the grain markets. Um, the day before my final, I went I went to Chicago for the interview. Walked around down there on the floor, and for some reason the light bulb went on, and I'm like, "Oh, I get this. I know how this works." Um, got snowed into Chicago. Had to call my professor and told my professor, "Listen, I'm stuck here in Chicago." And she said, "Well, but you still need to take the final." I said, "Okay, all right, but what can we work out? Now, how can we do this?" I said, "The good news is I spent the last day on the floor of the Board of Trade, and I get it. I swear to God, I get it." She says, "Okay, well then prove it to me. Let's do the final right now." And we did the final right then over the phone.
No way. A
Yeah, and
telefinal
she
before
yeah
telefinals were cool.
yep, and she passed me. So thank God she passed me. Um, so no, that's kind of how it worked out, and I ended up back at in Chicago, working for Oster Communications. Had continued to build that relationship
Hmm.
with the people at Pro Farmer and with Bob Kaufman, and then in I believe it was February. I started out there in January of '88, and then I believe it was February of '91. Bob Kaufman calls me up again down there on the floor, and he says, "Chip, I want to let you know I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to take on some new challenges, and there's going to be a position opened up here at Pro Farmer in Cedar Falls." And I said, "How long do I have to wait before I call and see if I'm in the running for that position?" And obviously, uh, made the transition to Cedar Falls into Pro Farmer. Then in '97 is when I kind of hit my career goal
Mm.
and became editor at Pro Farmer. So it's a long, short story. Sorry.
Yeah. No, no, no. That's fine. And you brought up a bunch of stalwarts of ag communication in Iowa. And
Oh yeah.
the one of the things that Emily and I talked about, and I talk about a lot, is I'm only 6 years younger than you, but I consider us a transition generation.
Yeah.
Our parents' generation were the transition between horses ish and real mechanized farming.
Yep.
And we're the transition generation with integration, information, the change from listening to the markets at noon on the radio and at the 6 o'clock news to immediate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
you are absolutely 100% right. I mean, the the information age that we have lived through is as important as any uh, change in industrial U.S. that we've ever experienced.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Well, this is as powerful as Gutenberg press and printing the Bible.
Yep, yep. It
But it
really is.
but it's interesting the the light bulb that went off when you were on the floor of the CBOT 4 decades ago, and what we talk about with the immediate interaction really hasn't changed markets. It's still
Boy, the speed at which the information flows into the marketplace right now, I'm still trying to figure it all out, Jim.
Mhm.
I mean, when when I was on the floor as a reporter, I was not a trader, but
Mhm.
when I was on the floor as a reporter, um, on report days, okay, number one, they came out after the market closed,
Mhm.
and everybody gathered around on the backside of the corn pit, bean pit, wheat pit, with the meal and the oil pits behind us, and we all gathered around in there. And Glenn Hollander from Hollander Furhagen stood there at the CNS ticker tape machine and waited for the report to come out, and then announced it to everybody all at the same time. And
Wow.
then depending on if they were on the right side of the market or the wrong side of the market, determined whether or not they were going to the Cirrus or not for a celebration. So
So
it was a fantastic time. And now if you can't get onto the website at because the market is open, if you can't get onto the website right at 11 o'clock Central Time, you know there's some sort of a conspiracy happening
yeah.
to lock me out
Uh-huh.
and to let other people in. It's unbelievable. It's
But the
unbelievable.
fundamentals of the market haven't changed. You
Mm,
got information, the market reacts to it, and you either buy or you sell.
yeah,
It's just
yeah.
the speed of
No,
it.
that's right. That's right. I do wonder though, with the development of the algorithms and the computer generated trading that takes place. I mean, you've taken the human element out of
Mm-hmm.
it. And yes, it is still information, but when is that information factored in?
That's true.
That's what I'm having a difficult time figuring out. When we were when I was at Pro Farmer, and a lot of the information was still wire services, satellite services, 10-minute delayed quotes,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I always felt like we knew some of the fundamental factors that would eventually impact the price of corn.
Okay.
Maybe we were 2 weeks early with it, maybe we were 6 weeks early with it, but this is something that is developing that will have an impact on the market. Now, when I get a piece of information, Jim, I wonder when was that factored in?
Yeah. Well, let's think about what we're talking about in the corn market right now.
Yeah,
I think you talked about last week with Brian Grady. The trade has factored in a 187 to 190, right?
yeah. That was his number. I wouldn't argue. I
But
wouldn't argue with it.
uh,
I haven't
I
really got a number on that, but
I don't think I don't. My personal bias, we've got a good crop. We're not going to hit that because of the math.
yeah.
But the market's trading it, and at what point do we get the information that the market doesn't trade it? I don't.
Right.
That's the information. But I said we weren't going to talk about markets. We're talking about markets. I want to
It's all
get
right.
back.
It's what we do.
I want to get back to a lesson that I taught my son with you. And it was a Friday afternoon. We were going to go have supper at a Mexican restaurant with a bunch of my friends. And I called you. And I hung up the phone with tears in my eyes because it was 2 days after your mom passed away. And I called just to tell you I was thinking about you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
my son looked at me like, why did you call him? And I told him, you never know who your friends are and the impact that your friends' lives and their families' lives has on you.
Yeah.
And I want to spend time talking about your mom. And
Yeah.
I wrote down a whole bunch of questions with the help of ChatGPT and my own brain. And
Okay.
I was going back to the farm crisis. And you spent a lot of time talking about your dad telling you you don't have a place here and you were thinking you're going to be on a farm. But what was your mother's reaction to that farm sale and you being told you're not going to be a farm boy anymore?
Yesterday would have been her birthday, by the way. So,
Okay.
yeah, a little bit.
And she would have been how old?
She would have been 91.
91. Okay.
91. So, how did mom react? You know, I don't know, Jim. I'm sorry, but I don't know if I've got a lot of memory of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was just a really difficult time, and see, the thing is, and I was mad about it for a long time.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, I did not like my brother very much for way too many years.
Mm.
And it's because of my brother's 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So, he was started. They were buying a farm and he was off and running and farming when everything got upside down. And the thing is, it took me a long time to understand exactly how things happen. And in many, I'm not saying all, I'm not saying all cases, but in many cases, the guys that had farm sales were people that were making payments.
Mhm.
There was equity left in that operation.
And that's why they had the farm sale.
And that's why they came after them.
Mm-hmm.
The operations that had burned through everything, the banks had to work with them because they would have been, if they would have foreclosed, they would have been taking on more debt than if they just worked with them and reworked those loans.
Mm-hmm.
So the farm crisis became a real crisis when it became a rural bank or a savings and loan crisis along with it. And the banks had to start doing some pretty unconventional things, like taking um, businesses that were still afloat out.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And that's what they did. That's what they did. I mean, we were very diversified. We had cattle, hogs, sheep, corn, soybeans, alfalfa. I mean, it was as diversified an operation as you can imagine. And in a lot of ways, that helped us with the finances.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of ways, it was also a detriment in the end. And it's one of the reasons that they came after us. Now, so I was in that time that we were really struggling. I was in that 12 to 15
Mm-hmm.
year old range, and my brother had moved on to another job because he had to. But we were still trying to make the farm work.
Mm-hmm.
We had downsized
Yeah.
already. Okay, we had downsized, but all of a sudden, a 12 year old had to replace a 22-year old.
Mm.
So I didn't spend a lot of time with mom.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time with Dad,
Gotcha.
and I spent a lot of time scraping hog floors, and I spent a lot of time doing work.
Yeah.
Um, but Mom was pretty strong through the whole thing, really. Um, she's the one that in the years that I was mad at my brother, um, she's the one that there's the time that I remember her the most because boy, she worked like the devil to keep the family from permanently fracturing. And if I would have had my way when I was 18 years old, that's what would have happened.
Mm.
I, yeah, we would have completely fractured or I would have completely fractured the family and burned bridges.
Your mom didn't let you do
And,
that.
and she would, yeah, she wouldn't let me do it. So that's, those are the memories around that, the farm problem that I remember the most with Mom. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, it's interesting. On my second screen over here, I've got a picture of Jessica Lange from Country. And what you're talking about, as you're talking through, I'm scrolling through that movie and
Mm-hmm.
scenes are coming up. And I have to be honest, I grew up in town and my
Yep.
grandparents farmed. So I did not experience the farm crisis other than seeing Country, listening to John Mellencamp think about Rain on a Scarecrow. And it hit me when I went to Purdue in 89. And it really hit me when I graduated in 93 in that there weren't as many people in ag as there probably should have been.
Right.
And a lot of those kids were pushed off the farm to go get an engineering degree, go
Wow.
banking, go someplace else. And I think that's a long tail of the 80s farm crisis that we don't
Absolutely.
talk about because
Yep.
it's tough to understand.
Yep. Yep. That's it. And it is difficult, I think, for people to understand if they didn't live through it. And
Mm-hmm.
I hear comparisons of current conditions to the 1980s.
Yeah.
Um, Current conditions are tough.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I know they are, but they're not the 80s. Um, it's obviously more expensive to farm
Mm-hmm.
now, but the cost of money then was,
Yeah.
and that's all relative. I mean, to really experience the cost of money, even though it's more money that's invested in the operation now than what it was then, but the cost of money would still be
Yeah.
20% money.
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
that
20%.
that was a little hard to take. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you talk about growing up in Oxford Junction. Um, I was with Dad the day that we took Hans out of the barn, cut the rope.
Mm.
Um, it was that was a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how many families did not have your mother in their family to keep it from blowing apart?
Think of it. Think of it.
A lot of them.
You well, you think about the number of, call it, 80-year-old, even a little older than that, 80-year-old farmers that are still farming,
Mm-hmm.
still capable, still pushing it. They owned the ground, but when they die, they are trying to split it up as equally or equitably as they can, and it's going to kids that in a lot of cases don't like each other
Because of what happened in 1981,
because of what
82,
happened in the
83.
80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it'd be just like
Yep.
you. Well, wow. That's got to be some sort of MBA project or some psychology to go through the long impact because we're talking 40 years on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, the good news with my brother and I is that we get along fine now.
that's good.
It took, like I said, it took me a while to fully understand and process how
Yeah.
everything went down. Um,
Well, you couldn't understand
so
it as a 12-year-old.
right, right. But as I understood it, and honestly, uh, it was 1984. Yeah, and I was in J school at Iowa State, and we had a magazine called Ag Visions,
Okay.
and I was a writer for the magazine, and we did a full blown focus on the farm crisis, and the research that you do and the interviews that we did to do that issue of the magazine, coming from Iowa State, the Ag magazine
Mm-hmm.
featuring Farm Crisis 1984, it better be good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
it it better be good, and the amount of effort that we put into it, and the way that we went about putting, I still remember it very clearly, the way we went about putting that issue together. Everybody had to make sure that the story that they wrote was uh, communicated the message clearly. We had to make sure that it was in some way defined the problem, in another way defined a solution, and again communicated the story. So we all had to do a presentation to the other writers of the magazine about the story,
Mm.
and everybody had to be in agreement that they could understand what we were talking about. So mine was on the Farm Crisis Hotline. So yeah, that was
Do you remember the number?
that. No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I don't. But there were tough stories to hear,
Uh-huh.
let alone try to tell in that Farm Crisis Hotline. So yeah, tough time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and you experienced it if you had to be with your dad when you cut a rope.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you were a teenager. You didn't know shit.
No, that's right. Yeah, I think that was probably when I was 13 when that went on.
Wow.
So
And I don't think a lot of people understand the stress that's was involved then and it is involved now. I mean,
yeah.
we do a lot better job about talking about mental health in ag, and I think
Oh
we
yeah.
talk about it more. It's so much different
Well,
as a society.
it, that's absolutely the case, Jim. And the other thing that the that geez, hangover, another lesson, another uh, uh, impact of the '80s is, you go into a rural bank now, a community bank, and it's a lot of young guys, a lot of young girls that are in there that are loan officers, that uh, are working with farmers to on their finances. There's no way that they were there for there for the '80s, but the lessons learned and the changes made to the financing business and the farm financing business in particular that came about from the '80s are very much ingrained in those young kids, young people
Yeah.
that are handling financing at community banks now. It changed the way that
Mhm.
financing is done in this country forever. You go back to the 2008 housing crisis here, and they say, "Oh, this is something that the country has never seen before."
Yeah, you did.
Bullshit.
1982, 83.
Bullshit. We all, we lived through it. You could see what was going to happen because we had been there before.
Well, that was
Um,
It's called the change from balance sheet lending to cash flow lending.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Yep.
not that simple, but it is.
But it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
So that's the point is that yes, we do a better job of talking about mental health and dealing with some of those mental health issues. We also do a better job of dealing with financial issues before
Mhm.
they get so freaking out of control that there's no coming back from it.
Yeah. But there's a one stark difference. If you went bankrupt in 82, 83, you could go to town and get a job at John Deere or International Harvester here in Fort Wayne, Magnavox, and you could work out a plan with the bank. You could pay it off
Yep.
in whatever period.
Yep.
Man, if I went to my banker in Auburn, Indiana and said, I'm done, I don't know if I could pay that off.
Yeah.
The magnitude
Yep.
of numbers is different. Maybe
It
the
is.
solutions are different, but I think that'd be different. And
Yep.
the tale of that 80s is still with us, as
Oh,
you've
yeah.
talked about.
Yep.
Do you remember any of your mother's writings about that during that time? Or did you find any when you closed your estate out?
Not a lot. You know what mom wrote? Okay, here, I'll give you a good example of what mom wrote. Now, this isn't all she wrote. There were feature pieces and that she did on things like the crisis or this, bicentennial. She did
Mhm.
a ton of stories on the
Okay.
bicentennial. Let's see, I was 11 years old, right? Oh my God, she was all over that,
Yeah.
all over that. Very did a whole lot on community celebrations. Um, that's where her focus was. It wasn't on farming, but okay,
But
19 84, summer of 84. I was just looking for work and ended up in the office of the Monticello Express. Bob Goodyear was the
okay.
editor there at that
Uh,
time. And I walked in and I said, Bob, Chip Flory, I'm Marlene's son. And I'm in J school at Iowa State. And I'm just wondering if you need any help.
mm-hmm.
And he said, well, Chip, you know what? If you want to cover the county fair for us, you know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pretty involved in the county fair. But if you want to cover the county fair for us, we'd sure like you to do that. And I said, that's fantastic. Sounds great. But you got anything before that? Well, just so happens the editor is going on a 2-week vacation, and we're going to need an assistant editor to copy edit. So I said, hey, man, I'm in. I
Yeah.
started like the next Monday.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I got, I opened it up. I'm starting to read it, handwritten, and it was something like Jim Smith, 16, of I'm sorry,
Graybill.
where are you at?
Graybill,
Huh?
Indiana.
Okay, uh, uh, Jim Smith, 16, stopped and picked up Cindy Lou, 16, where they went to Makokata, attended a movie, had enjoyed a pizza, and were home on time. It was a date, but that's what they wanted in the social calendar,
I know.
the social report.
Wow.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? And it
I'm-
was from my mom.
No way.
And I'm like, no. I immediately called her and I said, I'm not doing this. Poor
I'm in
Jim.
journalism school. I'm not doing this.
Poor Jim. So, but the way that the rest of that summer played out was Bob Goodyear, who was the owner of the Monticello Express, was also the owner of the building that the Anamosa Eureka Journal was in, but he didn't own the Anamosa Eureka Journal. But I got done with my 2 weeks as assistant editor, and he says, Bob, I still got a little time. You got anything for me to do? And he says, can you paint? And I said, yep.
Yep.
So I went to Anamosa. He gave me a $2 an hour raise to paint a building.
To paint the building.
instead of
Editing your mom's social
coming
calendar.
in. Right. So I went down and painted the building, and then the editor of the Anamosa Eureka Journal and the sports editor were button heads. Pat Warden was the editor down there, and she asked me if I like sports. I was using the dark room for like cleaning up brushes and stuff like that. And I said, well, Pat, I'm done with the building. If you've got anything that you want me to do, I'd appreciate some work. And she says, you like sports? I said, yeah.
Yeah.
She says, hold on a second. She went in and fired the sports
No way!
editor on the spot and gave me the job. Yeah, they were in the middle of a big fight.
So you go from copy editor to painter to sports editor all in like 4 weeks.
Yeah, and I lost $2 an hour going back to being a journalist.
Oh boy, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
As you were talking about this, was your writing style different or similar to your mother's?
Oh, that I saw the similarities and right away.
That's cool.
The very matter of fact.
Okay.
One of the big things that Mom had to do, of course, was school board minutes.
Oh.
For the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And very matter of fact. And think about it. When I sat down at the Chicago Board of Trade for the first time to finally get paid to do some work. It was very matter of fact style of writing.
Interesting.
So yeah, I definitely saw that. Yeah, we actually talked about that. That's a good memory.
Yeah.
Yep.
What typewriter did you have?
Olympia.
Okay. With the manual?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But when I think it was my second year at Iowa State, I got this little brother. With like a 16 character screen.
Okay.
And you
a little one like this,
right or not, until you hit print. And it printed on. I mean, it was.
Did it have the daisy wheel with the type on it?
No.
Okay.
No, this was actually a digital machine.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty high class. And when I went to Chicago, I wrote everything on a Tandy 80.
Okay, yeah.
Or something like that. Had a little bit of a bigger screen.
Mm-hmm.
So then I could write my full report and then go back and read it. And the reason that I had to do that is because the way that we got copy from the Chicago Board of Trade back to the wire services offices in Cedar Falls, Iowa, was dictation.
Oh my. So you had to dictate it, write it? Dictate it.
Dictated opening comments, midday comments, and closing comments every day. One for corn, one for beans, one for wheat.
Oh my.
Dictated it.
And now
Jim, however, it was quite the learning experience, period. New paragraph.
Oh.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I had what looked like earmuffs in my hand. And you put this muff modem onto the phone and it would transfer the copy back to see her
Wow,
go. So, boy, that made my job a whole lot easier.
Oh yeah, you didn't have to do comma, new paragraph.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what's funny, Chip? As you were talking through that word, comma, new paragraph, that's how I use talk to text to write a lot of my
Yeah.
writings now.
Yep.
Except it goes to Chat GPT and then we work on it together.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Could write a book that way now, I guess.
Supposedly. Oh my. Um, as you've probably heard, my scripts, I have them and they get thrown away pretty quick. But there's a few questions that I did highlight that I'd like to ask. When did you first realize that you could tell stories?
Oh, Jim, when I was way young.
Oh, really?
When, oh, that's because I was quite the storyteller.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 I've had to refine and develop and mature my style of storytelling, but no, I was quite a storyteller
So does
from
that
a
mean you
very
have
young
to
age.
stop embellishing?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I figured that out. Well, you know what? I grew out of that during the hard times.
Mm-hmm.
I grew out of it by the time I was 15.
You grew into your matter of factness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you think back to your time as hired labor on the farm when you were getting paid a really good wage, uh, we all have those jobs that provide solitude and time for us to think. For me, it's raking hay.
Yep.
What is a job that you would find solitude and would give you a chance for your brain to reset?
I didn't want anybody in the mow with me.
Really?
Yeah. I'd get in that barn and just keep them coming. And I got in there and it would just, that was, I really enjoyed it just because it was hard work.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got done at the end of that day, if everything went as planned, you could look back at where you started and what you've got now, and you could tell you really did something.
Yeah. So was that
So
the solitude or the hard work, or was it having to use your brain and do
everything,
Tetris?
yep, everything. It was all of that. Um, because as soon as there was as soon as you'd get done with the load, you'd grab the thermos, get a drink of water, sit
Mm-hmm.
down, and that's when you could think about stuff that is going on and stuff that you had to think about.
Mm.
But I did. I enjoyed mowing hay.
Well, uh, survey of 100 farmer kids, you would not be the top three working in a
No,
mow. No, no.
no, that's probably right.
That
That's
would be
probably right.
one respondent said, I love working in a mow. Oh,
I
that is
did.
interesting.
And that 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 whole, you could stand back and see
Mm-hmm.
that you'd actually done something.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that being able to do that in all my jobs because I'd get done at the end of the day when I was a reporter on the floor of the Board of Trade, and I had my 6 reports done. I'd walk around the floor, and you could see that people were reading them. All
That's
right,
cool.
I accomplished something.
Uh-huh.
When I got to Pro Farmer, there was a certain things that needed to be done every day when I was the electronic
Mm-hmm.
services editor, and when you check that final task off for the day, you'd accomplish what you
Mm-hmm.
set out to do that day.
Yeah.
And then when I was editor of the newsletter, there was nothing better than getting that fresh stack from the printer and sitting back and opening it up and taking a look at it and seeing what you had accomplished in putting that newsletter together. So that's something that I've always enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. So your career's 40 years, college to now ish.
Ah,
Yeah. Is there a story or two that you wrote that you didn't think would have any impact and it took off and you didn't?
so that realization
Uh
moment.
huh.
Oh shit! It happened in 1988, April of 1988. I've still got a copy of it. Jeff Wilson, who was my bureau chief at that time, says you got to do a weather outlook piece. You got to do a weather outlook. It says here's the list of weather sources that we use. Give them a call, do the interviews, find out what they're looking for, and put the whole thing together. So I did, and then I had to send it to Jeff, and Jeff calls me up that day one day and he says, "You realize they're all calling for drought?" I said, "Yeah," I said, but doesn't mean it's going to happen. But yeah, I realize that they're all calling for drought. And he said, "Are you? We need to go over this together to make sure that you've got everything right. I want to see your notes. I want to see this. I want to see that." I said, "Yeah, great, no problem. We can do that." So we got together and we did that. Now, this was at a time where, you know, we had to file market specials
Okay.
at that time where if the market moved so much, you had to call and dictate a report on why the market moved. And kind of the standard idea here was that if corn prices moved 0.75 cents, we we had to do a market special. With beans, I think it was 2 cents. But if corn was knocking on the door of making a penny move, it was time to do a market special. And you could I'd be down there on the floor, and every now and then you'd hear the volume pick up and the energy pick up, and look around, and the runners are actually running
Mm-hmm.
orders. They're not walking. And so then you go and you find out what's going on, call in, do your special. Well, we put that weather report out, and the corn market was trading, I don't know, quarter to a half cent higher. And all of a sudden, I hear the volume go up, and it went up all at once. And then the, all of a sudden, it's a penny higher. And then it made a move from a penny higher to 3 cents higher. And it never made 2 cent jumps. It was the first time and one of the few times that I witnessed a 2 cent jump. And it was shocking. And I went tearing off across the floor trying to find. I went
Mm-hmm.
I went right to my corn guy that I knew would always have an answer, Mark Cermak at Continental Grain. And I went straight up to him. I said, "Mark, what in the hell is going on?" And he handed me a copy of my story. And that's when it was. That was when it was early on in my career, the realization of and the of the responsibility that comes along with the job that I was doing. And then of course 88 came along and it was a drought, and my dad became the most popular guy on the floor. Everybody wanted to know, "Dave, get any rain? What's Dave seeing?"
Yeah.
And I'm starting to do interviews with my dad.
Really?
So that
Oh,
so that
wow.
people in Chicago could have a better understanding of what exactly was happening out in the field. Yeah,
Oh, goodness.
yeah.
Wow. That had to been, I think it would, the next day or the day after that, I would bet you had a realization of, oh boy, my
Oh,
pen can
oh
do
yeah,
something.
yeah. No, it was an oh shit moment,
Yeah.
no doubt, no
Ah,
doubt.
I didn't
So,
expect you to say that one.
um, and there have been other examples of it. There was one year that soybean seed production soybean seed production was struggling for, I don't remember exactly what the reason was. You know, it might have been the aphid year,
Okay.
and the and the I think it was, and they were just having a really tough time making sure that they were going to have enough soy. The seed companies were going to
Hmm.
have enough seed for the next year, and beans were, I don't know, $8, something like that. And I wrote a story about if they're going to take those beans, if a seed company has come to you and said that they're going to take those beans and they're willing to pay you $8, and then they're going to turn around and sell them for $40 a bag, you ought to be getting more than $8 a bushel.
Uh-huh.
And pissed off a seed company pretty good. Their director of sales had a conversation with the CEO of the company.
Oh boy.
Uh-huh. Yep. And in the end, we turned out being great friends.
Hmm. But at the time, he didn't
but
like you.
but at the time, he did not like me. No, he did not. No, he did
Oh.
not. And part of the reason that I remember that was just the whole process of who's watching, who's listening, who's reading, um, how you resolve a conflict like
Hmm.
that, and fortunately, what it could turn into,
A
and
friendship.
a friendship. Yep. So that
Interesting.
was an important lesson for me to learn too.
Yeah, a little humility there, and my pen really does have some impact. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet you could sit around for
Real
hours.
quick, a couple of other projects that I've
Uh-huh.
worked on over the years that I'm really, uh, when I do decide to call it quits, I'll probably look back at the. I've got it right here. My God, making the family farm the family business. I believe that one's from 1998,
Mm.
but I keep it right there. Um, and boy, it's not that it was anything new, okay? But it was the first time that I think we had taken a whole bunch of these business management concepts,
Hmm.
why a mission is important, why a value statement is important, uh, a vision statement,
Uh-huh.
the difference between those things, why there needs to be a hierarchy, a business
Huh?
hierarchy in a family farm, uh, a sense of ownership. You've got to develop that for people.
Hmm.
But it is a project that I put a lot of time into bringing together these concepts, and I think it had an impact on some people. I really do. Um, at that time, I think, yeah, it was BASF. Uh, they Somebody there read the book, wanted me to turn it into a series of newsletters that they could send out to their customers. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, sure, that sounds great. It should be an easy thing to do. And it was easy enough to
Hmm.
turn the chapters into newsletters, but I had no idea that they were going to send it to 75,000 people
Oh,
each time.
geez.
Yeah, each time. Um,
You
and
get buy a bucket of Bassett Grand, you get a newsletter.
yeah, yeah. And so, I enjoyed that. And I've had people over the years um, say, man, you won't believe this, but that blue book changed our farm.
Wow.
And so that's rewarding. That's
Well, it's a
rewarding.
butterfly effect.
Yeah. Yep. And then another one was the market education series that I did. Uh, and there it is. There it is right there. Uh, I felt like that was one of those projects that Chuck Roth, who was the president of Pro Farmer at the time, came to me and he says, "You know what? You got to help me out. I need a project." I said, "Well, I've had something in the back of my mind."
Yeah.
I said, "I don't think it's going to be. Uh, I don't think it'll be a crazy big seller, but I
Hmm.
think that we could sell some copies." And holy smokes, uh, it was one of those when I saw the final numbers on it, I was like,
Do I
wow.
get a do I get a raise for that one? Do I get a
I
commission?
got my paycheck.
You got your paycheck.
I got
Did
my
your
paycheck.
did your challenges in futures and options trading in Iowa State play into how you wrote that?
Oh, oh my God, yes. And it's because of the light bulb moment that I had, and I've done this. Hedging was a concept that was really difficult for people to understand.
Hmm.
And the thing is, if they made the sale and the market went up, they did not like that margin call. And I don't blame them. I
Yeah.
don't blame them. But, for me, and this is uh, how tough it was for me to get it at first. But for me, the light bulb moment was, oh my God, but you still own the cash grain.
Hmm.
So you want the market to go up. Now, oh, that means the price that I sold it for is the price that I'm going to get. If I was happy with that price when I sold it, hedged it, why shouldn't I be happy with it right now? I get it.
Hmm.
I get it. But it's also why every time, at Pro Farmer, when I was this market analyst, advisor, led the advice, the the biggest change I did on the communication side was every time we recommended a sale, I took the time to explain why
Mm.
we were doing it.
Okay.
I didn't just say, corn market's at back 3 cents today. We need to make another sale, sell 10%. No, we'd go through the full explanation of
Mm.
why we think now is the right time to either hedge or make a sale, and then the the other light bulb moment for me was basis. Once I fully understood why
Mm.
basis is the risk when you hedge, that was another, like I said, that was another light bulb moment for me. So yeah, those are the kind of things that I wanted to
Huh?
get into that market education. Yeah.
I cussed you when I first listened to you on Market Rally Radio because you kept talking about basis, and I kept saying I don't care about basis. I want to know what my cash price is. What's the cash price? What's the cash price? And then it finally had my light bulb moment. Oh, basis tells me about the demand in my area. Hello.
Yep.
Yeah.
See? Yep.
Do
Yep.
you
Yep.
think that the misunderstanding of hedging is because we separate the accounts? We have the checking account on this side, and we have the hedging account on here, and they're probably in different places. And you look at it going, "Oh, this one looks like crap," and "Oh, this one looks good," but you don't put the two together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that could definitely be part of the issue. Um, and I think for a long time, and there's still some of this out there, the attitude was the effing board of trade is just out to get me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and in reality, I mean, I think back to some of the people that were down there on the floor. The independent traders had one of them on the show today, Chris Robinson. But guys like Bruce Johnson and Jay Holman, uh, the pie checks,
Mm-hmm.
the I watched them work their butts off. Each and every Mark Gold was one of them that I was
Mm-hmm.
talking to all the time in the bean pit.
Yeah.
Um, but I watched them work their butts off every day to make a quarter of a penny as many times as they possibly could.
Mm.
Think
This
about
is
it. That
yeah. Quarter penny times
that's
5,000.
Works out.
times how many contracts?
Keep going. Keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah. Do it as many times as they could in the course of a day and keep it all straight. And I mean, so there were a lot of times that they would show up early in the morning at the out trade tables, which is where they had to be if the bookkeeping from the day before didn't completely line up. So they'd show up at the out trade tables and find, investigate, and discover, along with the other people that didn't, that had some out trades, match up. They would find those connecting orders and match them up very early the next day. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool. It's one of the reasons I like to be on the floor as early as I was. Oh geez, why can't I remember his name? He was the security guard. His name was on the floor when oh man, I'm sure I'll remember it later. But anyway, when I'd show up down there to go to work,
Mm-hmm.
oh jeez, I can see his face. I'm sorry. But when I'd show up for work, the way that they made sure that the doors were closed and nobody could get in or off the floor, they kept a chain on the door.
Okay.
And I'd show up for work. I want to say it was Charlie. But Charlie would take the chain off the door, let me on so that I could get to my desk, and then he would put the chain back
Put the
on.
chain back on. Oh
I'd,
my!
I'd walk in there and I'd be the only person on the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade.
Oh, well, what you've talked about in your experience just tells us that one of the things that we're missing in the market is we don't have that tactileness, that reaction to the mood. I mean, all farm boys have been to an auction and like, oh, I got to get in on buying this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess our markets are missing that. So one more question for you.
Okay. All right.
And then we'll get into our 5 questions. How did you handle, but you don't have skin in the game?
Oh,
you're not
you
a farmer.
mean that I'm not farming?
Yeah. You're not trading. You're just talking.
Doesn't mean that I didn't want to be right.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't mean that I didn't want to do the absolute best job that I could for the people that were paying money to read what I was writing. Mm-hmm. Here's the skin that I had in the game. If I would have sucked, I wouldn't have kept the job.
There you go.
And it was my dream job from when I was a senior in high school. And you know, I don't know if anybody, I don't know if I've heard that for a long, long time. You know that
I don't hear it. The only thing I hear is, oh, there's Chippy in the trespass tour. That's a topic for another. That's another podcast,
right?
Right. But you've been around long enough that you've proved yourself. So,
well, I've been around long enough.
There you go.
I still got some things to prove.
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You gotta earn a little bit more money so you can take care of those grandbabies.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, we end every pod.
Sooner the better.
You have how many now? 5?
5.
I'm having my first in October.
Nice.
Yeah.
Change your life.
That's what I hear.
You know, kids changed my life and changed my perspective in a big way. The grandkids did it to me again.
Yeah.
I mean, same level.
So you get a kick out of this. I had to buy a new throttle cable we have a John Deere tractor and we have a Case IH tractor. So I'm in the John Deere dealership talking to the parts table, and over in the toy section, they had a clearance rack and there was cute little pink onesies with a John Deere on it. Now my son-in-law is all red and I was half tempted to go get one of those. Like, no, I'll save that for later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but I've got a daughter-in-law that's a hawk.
Oh shoot.
It's
Well,
terrible.
when you think about her, think about the broadcaster legacies like Dolph.
Yeah.
Yeah, think about that.
Yeah.
Not Iowa.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
we end
No, we
all.
love her, of course.
Well, you love her, just you question her mental capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, she even went after my son.
Well, at
Man.
least that redeemed her a little bit. Well, we end every podcast with 5 questions. And
Okay.
you've already answered most of them, but we're going to go through them. So it's what is one lesson from ag or growing up on a farm that you take with you every day?
Everything for sale. Everything is for sale, including the food on your plate. Now shut up and eat.
Okay. I guarantee I haven't had that one yet.
Yeah, maybe I heard that from my dad a couple of times.
Possibly.
Dad, you can't sell the cows. Everything for sale, including the food on your plate. Now shut up and eat.
Okay. Lesson learned. Thank you, Dad. These are great potatoes, Mom. If you could have coffee with any historical figure in ag, who would it be?
Any? Any?
Any.
So doesn't have to be around where I could go meet them and have coffee with them right now.
No, any. You could be magically teleported.
But it's okay if they are alive.
Of course.
Okay. Uh, Wilbur Atkins was a farmer, and he started Farm Journal, or Country Gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind having a cup of coffee with Wilmer Atkinson. Boy, pretty doggone close to that. Or there's any. I don't know. Well, no, I think I do know why. It's because when you think about some of the innovations that have happened during our generations, and you think of the advancement in seed technology,
Mm-hmm.
I love those guys, the plant breeders.
Yeah.
I just having a conversation with them is pretty incredible. I've had an opportunity to have a couple of conversations with Harry Stein.
Ooh.
I bet.
That's
pretty cool.
Well, Emily brought up going back and talking to Henry Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How did you sell that concept?
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean,
there's a lot of people to talk about, but it's neat to hear everybody distill them out.
Yeah. Yep.
What is one underappreciated or quirky thing about ag that more people should know?
Underappreciated or quirky thing about agriculture that people should know. That more people should know. There's a lot of guys that are tired of the thank yous for feeding the world. They're much more businesslike than they would have you believe. I mean, did you hear the news from those East Coast freaking elitists? They were just so heartbroken for us because we lost NPR. And because we're losing public television funding. Because where else are the rural hicks going to get their information?
Because they can't afford
I
a
got
real
fiber
radio.
freaking internet in my basement. Shut up. Jeez. It's not as hokey out here in the country as what a lot of people that have a big influence on agriculture and agriculture policy seem to think it is.
I did a short podcast about that the other day.
Did you?
Yep. You asked ChatGPT to give me an image of a farmer. It's still going to be the what's the main? Ah,
The bibs.
yeah, the bibs, pork, pitchfork. Life.
Grant Wood.
Yeah, I mean,
American Gothic.
American Gotham inspired. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think about when I talked about that in that podcast. The two brothers that farmed hay behind me, it was a freaking crew. When you had three, they had three semi drivers, they had two baler drivers, they had two skid loader drivers, and they're making business decisions. They're not, and they don't wear overalls. I'm with you.
right.
It's a business. Yeah.
Yep, yep.
What is your favorite ag related tool or innovation?
Um, boy, it's the it's the guys that are working on genetics. There's and you got to take it. I mean, the one of the most fascinating things that I'm seeing happen right now, and when I say genetics, I mean both animal and plant.
Mhm.
And one of the coolest things that I see happening right now, and it's I've been following the development of it for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and that's the beef on dairy genetics. And
Mhm.
the things that they are doing. When I had a conversation with a California dairyman who 4,000 head of Jersey cows, and each year they're doing 3,600 embryo transplants with an Angus calf.
Mhm.
3,600 ETs out of 4,000 cows because of what the calf was worth. And now the way that they have figured out how to get the right, I mean, when we've got genetic development going on so that it's a good cross combination with a Jersey or a Holstein or whatever, that's just amazing to me. And then on the other side of it, the genomic testing that they're doing, and then they use sex semen to make sure that they are going to get a heifer calf out of the right cow, and they know what that heifer calf is going to be doing in 2 years,
Mhm.
how well it's going to be producing. That's
Yeah, it's
fascinating.
amazing. So my daughter
Yep.
works for Neogen, and she's a marketing
Yeah.
manager for their genomics. And her telling me about that ear punch they take
Yeah.
and how they're going to use that with that cow is just yeah, it takes it's amazing what we can do now. Yeah, and
Yep.
every time I hear AI, I don't think Chat GPT. I think, oh, what's in that ABS catalog this year?
Me too. Me too. Yep.
So the last question is, what is one small change we could make, or one small change that could make a big impact to ag's future?
Small change. Um, small change. Jeez. Yeah, this isn't really a small change, but I'll say it anyway. Let's accept science as science is, and quit making crap up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm looking at Maha and the changes that the whims of one of those East Coast elitists
Mm-hmm.
that believes he knows better than you do on how to raise crops
Mm-hmm.
and everything. What what happens if they put out that Maha Commission report proposals next month, and it says we should do away with atrazine and glyphosate, and President Trump takes it and goes to Zeldin and says, "Make this happen."
There's going to be some weedy corn in the Midwest.
I mean, just accept science. One of my favorite guys in this whole business is, and I've never met him. I've talked to him 100 times, but Kevin Folta at the University of Florida. He was the guy that took all the crap from the New York Times.
Yep.
On glyphosate. We've gotten to be. I wouldn't say that we're good acquaintances. I wouldn't say that we're friends. I've never had an opportunity to sit down and have a talk with him. But I've been on the phone with him, and he's been on the show several times. I even picked him as the Pro Farmer Ag Person of the Year one year for fighting the battle. But he's a one that has really shaped my thoughts and opinions on, damn it, science is science, and you got to go with it. So,
follow the science until it doesn't fit my agenda. Well, I think
and
you bring
do
up
what I want you to do, not what makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think on a side note, I don't think there's anybody in the last decade that has taken one for the team for agriculture more than Kevin Folta has.
Right.
I mean, he's been hurt academically, he's been hurt financially and personally.
Yep.
And if there's somebody in ag that probably needs somebody to say, hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because he took a lot of shots. And then he didn't get backed up by his university.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. Mitt Lerner is kind of in that same kind of realm.
Yeah.
But he's different because, he's what he's saying is, listen, no, some of your crazy ideas might be right, but your ideas about how to address them and the solutions that you've got are wrong. So
plus he's got the German accent
to him too. Yeah. Hard to ignore him.
Oh yeah. Wow. Note to self, add Kevin to the list.
Yep.
Well, Chip, this has been fun. And as I told you, we weren't going to talk about markets. We did, but we didn't talk about the mechanics and what's happening with corn today. I don't even know what corn did today. I appreciate you shouldn't have said that.
Sorry.
Yeah, get it on a sour note. It's been a great conversation. And I appreciate
thank you. And it's and don't think I don't remember. And I meant what I said about you never know when you're going to be able to sit down with a friend. I remember that time you showed up in Old Wine.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We were up there doing a remote broadcast, and I looked over there, and I'm like, is that who I think that is? And it was. It was. I sure enjoyed that day.
That was a fun day. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I remember where I ate. I was like, okay, I got to find a place to eat because I know they're going to be live up here.
Yeah.
There's times it pays off to get home late, and that was one of those days.
Yep. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, congratulations on your podcast.
Well, thank you.
And I've enjoyed a couple of the conversations.
We've had a good one. So to my guests, or my followers, thanks for the follows. We're going to continue to dive deep into people's ag roots. And as I think you've seen with my discussion with Chip, we're going to talk about things that most people aren't going to talk about. So keep the likes and the follows and suggestions coming.